Okay, let's go here. We are live, Mr. Joe.
All right, buddy.
What's happening?
Hey, man, it's like everybody just, no sleep again. But,
too.
as
Everybody.
to quote one of my favorite movies, money never sleeps.
There you go.
You know,
There you go.
so
I want to start off with what was an epic experience last night as an Olympus DAO investor / staker, and one who almost did the Rari Capital leverage the other day and chose not to, thankfully. Although I was being really conservative with what I was going to set up. So last night, essentially, we hit like a 50% dump, 48.7% from, I think, the high on the day. Let me see. Yeah, right at 50% dump on Olympus DAO. And, obviously you can see there's this dump. It gets pushed back up. People buy at the discount. And then everybody else panics and is like, oh, holy shit, I got to get out of here. And dumps again. And then has a beautiful climb in, how far long was that? 5 hours and 10 minutes, a 67% gain. I doubled my stake down here about 628, and it hit 618, I think. So I was very pleased with that. But the really cool thing about this was watching the system work, right? So I was slightly nervous, but I trust the code and I trust the team. And so I wasn't sitting over the unstake button. I was just watching it, and I was so fascinated because now look, yesterday at one point we were over 3 billion on this. But here's the key thing. When I started watching what was happening, we were at 2.4 billion total value deposited, right?
Yep.
Now, total value deposited is dropped also because the price is down, but it dropped down to that 618 per ohm price to 1.4 billion, right? So lost $1 billion inside of 15 minutes. And then 15 minutes later, this was up again to 2.26 billion, right? So this whole system worked because what happened as the price dropped and people pulled out in panic and sold, the weak hands, the people who don't even understand what they're investing in, they're just investing in an APY, right? This APY went from 7,400 up to 9,000% APY. And so what happens? Psychologically, everybody that's kind of sitting and watching this or already has ohm in there says, fuck, I need more of that, which is what I did, right? I'm like, okay, this is on sale. I've lost half my value. I'm going to DCA this trade. I'm going to take that high APY. And we're still hanging out here at 8,005.1% because this total value deposited hasn't climbed up enough to hit the formula and make it drop more. For me, this whole incident proved the model, right? Because I think on any other cryptocurrency, except maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum, this level of drop in it's not even 7 hours really. If you look at the true point of the drop, in 4 hours, just under 5 hours, that's pretty amazing for a project that's only about 3 months old that it actually recovered from that.
Yeah.
And so I was really, really excited to watch this whole thing happen last night, man. And all the ohmies are taking a victory lap. Now, had it been priced at 600, would we have gone to $1 or 300? Who knows? But, we started out at the 1,200 mark, and the system functioned the way he talked about it in my podcast with him and the way it's supposed to function. So
Yeah.
if you can't tell, I'm very excited to see this shit work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I was watching this last night too, and a lot of people I knew of a bunch of liquidations happening, and I was like, well, I know Brad's not sleeping tonight.
But the funny thing is, I would have been not sleeping in any other project. I probably would have been, except for Alchemix. When Alchemix dumped, I didn't give a shit either.
Mm-hmm.
But Alchemix didn't have an algorithm that I felt like would sustain it, right? Alchemix it certainly has the vaults and it has the the TVL, but I just trust that project. This project, I trust the project, and I stayed up because it was so much fun watching the math work, right? Watching what I had talked to him about for an hour and a half actually do what it's supposed to do, right? The whole concept of, I told you the other day, I love our mean reversion indicator because it's all based on the psychology of how humans react in dumps, and this is no different. This is completely based on, well, if people are dumping it and the price is going down, give them more, right? Because then it does two things. First, it shows a big number APY, so everybody goes, oh, holy shit, I can make a lot of ohm. But the other thing it does is it spreads that loss out, gives you more of it, and you're thinking, well, shit, when this price goes back up to 1,200, I just, got an extra 20% more than I had. And I'm going to stake it, and I'm going to earn 8,000% APY. And so the psychology of this shit works. I love models. I love projects that play with kind of our stupid psychology, right?
Well, yeah. It's also, it's a lot of times you have to trade against your instinct because, you're hitting the panic button at that point. It's right. What do I do? What do I do? But this is the beauty of these sort of DeFi type projects is that with all this yield, you could eat a 50% correction like that and plow back in, DCA your way back in. But then all that yield kind of levers up the whole DCA. So you're almost like leveraging DCA in a way that hasn't been able to be done before.
Yeah.
And so I was, because I was following this a lot too. And I also think that, I saw another thing from the OHM that if you had bought it in the IDO, each one of the units you bought in the IDO is worth 1.25 million now, evidently.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so there's only 5 people that held. So just so you know. Most people are like, shit, give me my $500,000, give me my $250,000, whatever, and walk like, a lot of smart people do. The other thing I think was playing here was that all the talk about BTC and the ETF and everything going on in ETH and BTC also was feeding into an excuse for people to sell.
Right. That's a good point.
To rotate. So I think that because that was all started at like midnight, right? I'm looking at.
Yeah, that talk all started late last night.
Yeah. So to me, there was a reason where people were trying to come up with a reason to sell. And that was it. Now, of course, today they're feeling like idiots. But, hopefully they only sold half or something like that. So
yeah, look, I feel bad for the guys that were leveraged and, got out. I talked to a couple of guys on Twitter this morning that got really close to the cliff and had to dump some money in, or they just got lucky. And so, I feel for those people that were leveraged a little too tight on the price and took the hit yesterday. But I think, look, it's like everything else that in crypto, right? We all learn these lessons. And frankly, the only way to learn them hardcore is to get hurt, right?
Yeah.
And that's sure as hell how I've learned my lessons, But I just the brilliance of how this thing worked and watching it happen in real time, watching these deposits go from 2.4 to 1.4 in like 15 minutes and then soar straight back up because everybody's like, holy shit, look at this APY. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Yeah. And I was glad to double what I have, right? That was the other beautiful thing.
Yeah, I've been messing around with that on, in some other platforms and moving some stuff out. And I noticed that a couple of them where I've been kind of watching them drop, again, I look at it and I've got twice as many tokens.
Yeah.
So, the play there, everyone, is you come in and buy more at that point and then restake it and just wait. And don't miss those opportunities. That's why I say don't blow all your powder on one shot. Drop 25% of your powder, save some in reserve, because this happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when you're like up double or whatever, trim your position a little bit. Don't dump it all, but sell the 25% of that back into your dry powder reserve.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you played that perfectly. What do you think about that OHM fork over on Avalanche?
I was looking at it last night. It's funny. Somebody I know actually knows the lead developer on that project because otherwise I was a little concerned about it. But
this is Wonderland, right? It's called Wonderland.
And I haven't done anything in Avalanche, right? And so I feel a little skittish about it, but at the same time, I'm in a private group with a bunch of kind of OG guys who've been in the industry for a long time. And one of the guys there, says this guy is really the real deal, and that he does some really great work, and the project's legit. I'm curious about the dynamics of it. They've got, they were at $500 million this morning when I took a look at it in TVL, and certainly that API is sweet. It was 56,000% this morning. I still have, I think, a lot more trust in Olympus DAO, but I might dump a little in here just to play and see what happens.
All right. Well, let me give you an easier one then.
Okay.
That I saw in one of my private groups. They were talking. There are big Omis in time and all of that, and tons of NFTs. And it's Matic, it's layer ones, and Time or Wonderland just launched a product on Phantom, a token called WMEMO, MEMO. And you can essentially buy that token over there, and it does all the staking and the APYs and everything within your wallet. So you don't have to do anything other than just own the token in your wallet.
You got a web address for that, dude?
Let me pull up where's my Telegram messages? Hold on. No, it's my phone. But if you Google, the ticker's up.
Wait, is this this is a wrapped Memo token from Abracadabra from Magic Internet Money.
Yeah, but it ties into, look, it came from Time, and it's basically functioning as a Time LP token on Phantom and accruing the 52,000% interest. But hold on,
here? I've got a tweet up about it.
That might be it. Yeah. You got it. Oh, hold on,
that was from like a week ago.
Okay, here, I'll read this one. This one is saying users on Phantom Chain can now purchase staked Time in the form of WMEMO on Spirit Swap, which guys know I'm into Spirit. This token benefits from our usual rebase rewards, currently 53,500% APY. No need to stake or claim. Everything has been streamlined for your convenience. Simply hold the WMEMO token in your wallet. So we talk about users.
That does sound magical.
Yeah. So I was like, screw it. So
what the fuck?
I aped in with like $500 just to see what happens. And because I'm like, how the hell are they doing that? But
you did it on Spirit?
Yeah, I did it on Spirit. So, but when I looked at the FTM scan to see what actually happened, it seems to go to MIM and then back to WMEMO. So there's some kind of contract in MIM tied to Time that's doing this, auto magically for you. But it was worth looking at. So I was curious about if you had heard about it.
Nah, not a thing. You're the Phantom guy. You're the expert over there. And I've avoided Avalanche just because I wasn't a big fan of the founder's attitude, but there's so much happening there, and the performance over there is pretty interesting. So I need to dive in a little further over there as well.
Yeah, I was kind of like, oh, wow, this is easy. Now I don't have to go figure out Avalanche and set up another network. But we'll see what happens. Let me see. I know what I bought it at. Let's see what it's at. Hold on. Let's see. Let's expand. Of course, I can't look at so many screens. I can barely.
Hey, Jaws, thanks if you're still listening. I appreciate that retweet, man. It was nice to have those Omis viewing.
Oh, we got a bunch of Omis on board today?
We did earlier. Right. I think after we dropped off of Olympus, but
cool.
Jaws, I think he runs social media for Olympus DAO, and he retweeted the live feed.
Nice.
So, much appreciated.
Yeah. So these, like we talked, these are, it's kind of like liquidity farming. I was in one chat and a lot of people were kind of thinking that they think a lot of the LPing and stuff is just going to slowly fade away. And I'm like, well, no shit. If you could do this and get 53% APY,
I got into Scoopy. Trouples from Alchemix got into a nice run, a nice back and forth with Sassel last night. Where'd it go? Because I of course inserted myself into the conversation. because it was all about whether or not, essentially he was saying that we shouldn't be calling these projects DeFi 2.0. And I was like, yeah, look, there's more innovation and advancement from DeFi 1 to DeFi 2.0 than there ever was from Web 1 to Web 2.0, right? Yeah. I mean, this is like fundamental liquidity, fundamental liquidity changes, fundamental nature of money changes between DeFi 1 and 2. It's taking us to another level of products that don't exist in TradFi, right? And so from my perspective, things like Alchemix, things like Olympus, those are the projects that really are defining DeFi 2.0, and I think it's absolutely legitimate. He's like, well, it's not like an upgrade of software, blah blah blah. And look, I mean, Scoop is like
a software guy, right?
Yeah, he said, look, we think we're innovative and we should be basically DeFi 2.0 because self-paying loans didn't exist before. So we really feel like, I think this might be it.
I would almost say that that's almost 3.0, because in the original DeFi summer, I was looking at some articles back then. Everybody's just talking about setting up the trading pairs and holding the LP tokens. Right. Nobody was really talking about staking those LP tokens somewhere for rewards and yield. So to me, DeFi 2.0 was when we started staking the LP tokens.
Yep.
So now I think when we look at like what those guys are doing at Olympus and Alchemix, I mean, that's almost like DeFi 3.0 to me.
We're almost getting there. So this is what he wrote. Versioning implies that 1.0 protocols can't incorporate the 2.0 features, just confuses everyone. I'm thinking, who's confused, man? It's really obvious to see the difference between the other protocols aren't going to die, and there's always been backwards compatibility in software. And that's what's happening here. 2.0 can connect to all the 1.0 blue chips, boomer protocols, whatever you want to call them, but there's absolutely zero reason to not call this 2.0. It's like, who's getting confused, right? It's just a different level of product, of features, of functionality, of stability, of price goals, trying to make sure that we build something better, stronger, more stable. To me, that's 2.0. So anyway.
Well, I think it sounds like, his response was almost more like a software architect response, in that it was a technical thing, where I would say the vast majority of users don't even know what he's talking about at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like, holy shit, look at this yield.
Yep.
That's about it.
Exactly.
But they're not, as we say, trust the math, dig into the math. Well, these developers are all math guys.
Yep.
So, he's digging into the granularity of the math. And, I think what he says is valid, but in reality, probably not as big an issue to 95% of the people.
Exactly. So I agree. What else you into today?
Well, we've been tracking, of course, the BTC ETFs, which look like they're just, if one hasn't been technically fully approved yet, it's 99% there. I've seen a lot of letters going around in crypto Twitter about, from NASDAQ to SEC endorsing, I think, the ProShares one, and some tickers getting assigned on the Bloomberg data feeds. So I think it's a done deal. But then what's interesting is then I saw an article from a couple hours ago talking about, Bitcoin gets green light for price discovery with almost no supply on exchanges above 59,000. Resistance is thinner than ever while data leaves the market guessing about what will happen when Bitcoin hits 64.5, its all-time high. So, I don't know. You see those order books over on the material, that heat map you guys have.
Yeah.
What's that looking like?
I'll go take a look. Keep talking.
Yeah. So, this is implying that there's nothing up there. And I'm looking at something on a volume profile on Whale Map Twitter, BTC USD chart. And, it's not showing much up there either.
Yeah.
So,
I can't show you. Fred's in the middle of upgrading it.
Okay. So, this tells me that, obviously if anything were to push it up, that, sky's the limit right now. But a lot of people are also, as we said before, buy the rumor, trade the news. So, it's kind of difficult to figure out what's going to happen next. In regards to, there's another article I saw about institutional article talking about how, what was it, that there's been about 200 million in crypto inflows from the Wall Street banks monthly for the last couple of months at least. So institutional money is clearly pouring in. I kind of think these ETFs, I started thinking about that today. If you're in a Fidelity fund, that's, the tech fund there, maybe you're investing in these ETFs to give a little bit of risk exposure to your client base. But also retail can do it too, people who can't do the CME stuff. So I think it's good all around.
I'll never understand. I mean, I get, and I do understand. I just don't understand. I get that the big institutionals want to be hands off, but still be in Bitcoin. But to me, it's the silliest fucking thing.
I think it's regulatory. They have specific rules as to what types of securities they can buy and sell. And, I guess, again, they're dealing all the pension money and stuff like that. So, they're just trying to, walk the fine line between give me more money.
But at the end of the day, it's still the same risk. It's just fucking nuts. The whole system is nuts.
Well, I was talking to I have some buddies that have worked at the U.S. Treasury for years. And I was joking with them. I said, dude, man, you want to retire the national debt? Just give me $1 billion and I'll throw it in here at 52,000% interest. Or it's a big joke, of course, because we know the yields have collapsed. But, there's just opportunity here.
Yeah.
And if you play it smart, you're going to have, you're going to make money.
Right.
But, sure, validate the sources, validate the math, don't go on gut. Think rationally, the right side, I think the left side of the brain, I can't remember, whatever side of the brain does all the rational thought versus creative and instinctual, think that and just make smart decisions. You'll do well.
Yeah. So in other news, Index Finance, which is tokenized kind of portfolio play, got hacked. I guess it was yesterday. More of an exploit than a hack. I shouldn't call it a hack. I use that word too much.
Smart contract exploit?
Yeah. So had to do with, again, manipulation of supply of the tokens and what's being bought and driving price down with extended supply. I don't remember all the details. But the thing that bothers me about it, excuse me, I interviewed Mitchell Amador from Immunify for the podcast, and Immunify is a bug bounty program, but they do all kinds of remediation on hacks and everything else. And the thing that bothers me about it is kind of the post-mortem on this by Indexed. To me, not being a Solidity developer, but to me, it was almost like, we should have seen this coming. And I'm frustrated. I love the fact that we're open book. I love the fact that we say what happened and we talk about it openly and that we're helping each other solve problems. But, $16 million worth of assets were stolen. And that it sounds like from the post-mortem that the way they were handling the pools of assets was not copacetic with current standards for handling things like that, right? And so the delays and the times on it and everything else, he was able to get it done and he shouldn't have been able to get it done. So for me, I'm a little disturbed when I see stuff like that. And so, there are real-time, I think it's called Real-Time Audits, the firm that Alchemix hired and that also Olympus hired. These are firms that are constantly evaluating the code and evaluating what's happening and looking for attack vectors and looking for exploit vectors. Every project that has raised some serious cash better be spending that cash on those kinds of analyses, right? Because this isn't just about, is there something that they could hack? Is there a bug in the code? It's also about, flash loans and exploits that way and being able to rig the system to extract out assets that are in pools. And from my perspective, I would love to see a more concentrated effort from figuring out a way from what other people have learned being distributed to what people are actually working on, right? And I don't know how that works yet, because I'm not the right guy to lead that charge, but I know that the guys at Immunify and all the audit firms are collecting a lot of data. Some audit firms suck and they barely look at the kinds of exploits that happened for indexed, but others do, and they have economists and financial analysts that are really looking at potential ways to manipulate it and screw with it. I just think we need more of that. Now, I could be completely wrong. It may be that indexed had everything in place that they should have had in. It just was an unforeseeable way to hack it or to exploit it, but it didn't sound like it when I was reading their Twitter thread about the postmortem.
Well, it's kind of funny, in the router protocol channels, you got half the people bitching about the audit. Why is the audit taking so long? And then, of course, all the principals are like, look, we don't want to rush something out that's going to get exploited. Yeah. And, and so they have Halborn, I think, is their audit. It's supposed to be super, super thorough, I guess. But, they identified an exploit that if they'd really rushed to market to, appease all the token holders, they would have gotten totally screwed. So I wonder with like Index, if they, what audit firms were they using? Did they have multiple audit firms in there before they launched? Things like that, because, speed to market is an important thing too. And people don't want to miss the window, but, obviously, and I'm not saying they did this, but, if you rush something out that's not quite ready, this is going on 24/7, 365. There are teams of people, black hats going in, trying to find these exploits. As Brad said, drain the wallet. So, the white hat side has to be on 24/7 as well. Just like if you're doing intrusion protection at a corporation or cybersecurity or anything like that, you have to have a dedicated team 24/7, 365 on it. Or you're going to get screwed. It's just too much money. Too much money here. So
now, look, I really should not. I should reserve any more comments on it till I read the new postmortem that just came out.
Right.
I read the previous one that they did right after, and that's not fair. They're in the heat of it, and they're not quite sure what happened. But the way they worded it was kind of like, oh, yeah, we probably should have done that. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Even if you should have, maybe not say it. But
well, and I'm speaking in more general terms, too, from other ones. I don't know anything about Index. So.
Yeah, so I'll read this shit, and we can talk about it on Monday a little more. Okay. So,
couple other things I saw was, Polygon's got again, no supply on the exchanges of Polygon. They got a 350 price target, according to a few, and they're talking about
what do you mean no supply? Let's define that.
Well, how people on central exchanges.
Oh, on centralized exchanges.
Yes,
oh, I got you. I thought you meant on DEXs. I'm like, what?
No, sorry. On well, let me see if it's talking about it. I think it's just sexes. Hold on.
Let's see if I want to buy some Matic right now. What happens?
Well, it was up today 20%. I trimmed a little bit, honestly, because I've been in since in and out.
Well, let me see. What's the price at right now?
Well, it should be like 140. Well, hold on. Bitcoin's at 61 almost. Matic is at 146.5.
Yeah, 147. Yeah.
But it was up to like 160.
Look at that run. When did that start? This morning. No wonder. Yeah. Holy shit.
So I trimmed a little bit there just because I've been,
30% in 6 hours. Nice.
Yeah. So, that's always my strategy, and buy something else that's down. So I think where I redeployed was I deployed that into Wemo or WMemo, whatever it was called, just because I was like, why not? So if I'm going to take a bet, take it with something that I'm up 25x on or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so that's good news. I mean, Polygon, again, called layer 2, but it really functions a lot like a layer 1. So I tend to lump it in with layer 1. And then the thing I saw kind of interesting was Bank of Russia to assess Bitcoin holdings as $36 billion leaves the banks. So it's like,
nice.
And the pandemic started, I guess everybody was pulling money out of the Russian banks, and it hasn't gone back.
Yeah.
So that was in 2020. They pulled it out and it hasn't returned. And then it says, according to a survey by Russia's Association of Forex Dealers, as much as 77% of Russian investors prefer Bitcoin to traditional investment instruments such as gold and Forex. So, I mean, in a lot of these, in many societies where, you're assessing sovereign coins versus non-sovereign, you see all this risk in the fiat side. And, why go put that back in a bank if you don't trust that bank?
Exactly.
Now, this is Russia. We're not talking about the U.S., but at the same in the bank comparison, of course, because we know we'll bail the banks out every single time that we have.
Of course.
But still, that's just another positive sign. And then one other thing I want to touch on, Japan's doing their own CBDs, their central bank digital coin, and they're talking about prioritizing simplicity. So, again, a lot of stuff going on. That's all super positive to adoption.
It's great. So I want to just give an example of what we're up against in government and regulatory. This douchebag Governor Mike Parson from Missouri. Did you see this shit yesterday?
No, I didn't. What is he saying?
Oh, holy fuck. A reporter went into the state's education site, and they have this thing where you can search on the qualifications of teachers in the state of Missouri, right? It's like you go in and put the teacher's name in, it'll show their certifications. Mm-hmm. Well, evidently he did something as hacky as this. He right-clicked it, chose view page source, and looked at the source code. And lo and behold, the social security numbers of the teachers that he was searching for were embedded in the HTML that the government was putting forth, right? So he sits on the story, goes to the education department, goes to the forensic security people in the state, and says, you guys have a problem because, number one, it's illegal for the state to disclose people's social security numbers, and you need to fix it. And so this douchebag governor, this is how either uneducated or unwilling these people are to understand the simplest technology, right? We're talking about HTML. We're talking about becoming popular and utilized since the mid-90s in everybody's browser every single day. He wants to arrest and prosecute the reporter for hacking and accessing these teachers' social security numbers.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful example of the level of ignorance we're dealing with. And we have a really severe problem. And I'm really concerned that we're never going to get there. Now, I will say I was pleasantly surprised. Coinbase's policy arm, their lobbyist arm, put out a document yesterday talking about what they think policymakers should do. And I have been kind of slamming Coinbase. Not that they give a shit that I'm slamming them, but I've been kind of slamming Coinbase because I was concerned that a centralized exchange was never going to represent the interests of DeFi. And they actually took an incredibly good approach and positive approach to it. They put out a set of regulations and structures with a separate regulatory body for digital, and organizations like them, centralized exchanges that have custody. They outlined all the regulations that should apply to them, but they said, take us out of commodities, take us out of securities, take us out of all this other shit, put us in one basket with a digital regulatory authority, digital finance regulatory authority. And then DeFi, let people run with this and let people connect and only make them disclose, specific things about infrastructure, tech, how the system works, etc., so that people can make informed decisions about investing. I just skimmed through the whole thing. It was like, 10, 15 pages, but I was thoroughly impressed. So mea culpa, Coinbase. I really thought you were going to go in there, lobby and say everything should be like us, and that's typically how lobbyists operate, right? They'll go in the interest of their client and get Congress, who's ignorant on a topic, to write legislation that favors their client because they're given donations. They really went in with what I thought was an incredibly fair, structured regulatory framework. I don't think it'll ever see the light of day, but at least it'll make some politicians think about it. And hopefully, if Coinbase and the other lobbyists are giving them enough money, they'll actually read it and try to understand it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's by the way, BTC is at 61,435. It's spiking big right now. When back in the day, I worked with a .com company called EasyGov, and it was one of those G2C, G2B companies, government, consumer government. And they were the first one that did like pay the ticket online and, pay your shit online and all of that with government instead of going and standing in a line. And so, what they found was that, and I have discovered this in other sectors too, they thought, oh yeah, we're just going to deploy it, and then everybody's going to use it. But when you go to these individual states, and I'm kind of going back to the show me state, Missouri, and that governor, whomever, is that every single one has a different thing. So maybe somebody set up they became the first one in 1940 at the courthouse to collect checks to pay parking tickets or something, or titles or things like that. That shit gets enshrined in the Constitution, where that family has that business. So when you go to those states, another one I was involved in was the first reverse mortgage company, realestate.com, a classic flame out. But, they got busted for selling mortgages without a license and stuff like that. But they were state
that dude needs to be in DeFi, man.
Yeah, he's a great promoter, by the way. But each state has different families that control those businesses. So same thing happened with the Affordable Health Care Act. The people they ran up against were the people that own those health insurance businesses in those states. So there is no uniformity across states. So what you find is that all these IT systems are just totally clusterfucked, basically.
Right.
It's duct tape and toothpicks, and it's Unix and every other thing you could think of just laid on top of everything. And the exploits in there, I mean, this shows these guys are so stupid, they're actually deploying the Social Security numbers out in a public domain. And then to accuse the journalist of hacking, who didn't, you have to do something with the data. Viewing the data isn't hacking the data. And that they don't understand that, it just shows how stupid, most of these politicians are.
Exactly.
And, people are politicians for a reason, because they can stomach the bullshit. And, I always look at it as a big sausage factory. I don't really care to know any of them, or I don't give a shit what they think. If the output is good after everybody fights and gets their piece and gets their take and gets paid off and this and that. I mean, paid off in the sense of political action committee contributions, not in, bribery or anything. Then that's fine. Yeah. I mean, like in the other countries, it's straight up bribery. Okay. But we have a sanitized
indirect bribery. That's what the fines are from the SEC, right? It's like So that kind of stuff, it's going to change over time, obviously. But unfortunately for those teachers in Missouri, who now probably that data's somebody already probably found it. Somebody already has it.
It's already on the dark web. People are running identity theft on those people already. So
well, and that's the attitude about these politicians. It's like, you know what? I am going to try to fight off this bad press by acting like they committed and did something horrible and criminal, right? Instead of just saying, "Damn, I fucked that up," or we fucked that up, and we're fixing it.
I wonder who set that example.
Yeah, exactly.
Without saying anything. I don't want to do politics.
Exactly.
But it's like it's this anger that's out there, and if you fuck up, it's like, I didn't do it, he did it, or he already did that, or he did more. It's
like the simplest thing would have been, holy crap, we're really sorry. This is horrible. Fix it. We're shutting down the site. Yep. And you know what? Somebody's getting fired. Yep. It's like, oh my God, dude.
Where's that state IT director, man? Exactly. You're fired.
And the crazy thing is, it was probably some dude 15 years ago. I bet this code is from like 1999, knowing how state governments run, Anyway.
And nobody, there's no incentive to like make things better. There's incentive to like not get fired and maintain your cushy job. I saw something similar to that on this real quickly, this jail system in Tennessee. I saw an article where, they were jailing kids and they're making up charges. Like, there was the example just to get like the rent money on the cells. They're like jailing 12-year-olds and shit. So I'm like, of course, most of them are, people of color, but that's another thing to not wade into right here. But still, that's these states. It's just a joke what's going on at the state level.
Well, I mean, look, let's not. I'm about to go down the for-profit prison march, and I don't want to do that because this is a DeFi show. So, I have a hard stop in 6 minutes. Anything else you want to cover today?
Well, let me look. Hold on real quick. Make sure I did. I think I went through everything I thought was interesting.
I had a few more things, but I haven't taken a deep enough dive on my own to get into them. So I'm gonna wait.
There's some talk. There's an NFT play I've seen some chatting about called Bado. I think today it was the opening.
Bado.
Yeah, it's
Bada. Oh, you know what? I want to add something to the mix next week. My buddy Corey, who lives over in Waxland, Wax blockchain, that is primarily focused on NFTs, founded by one of the original board members of USDT of Tether. He's launching the first full-blown DeFi play in that space. There are other like little here and there swaps on that site, but he's launching. So I wanted to see, they also have an entire metaverse system with NFTs inside of Minecraft, which is actually amazing and growing at a rapid rate. But I was thinking you and I could have him on next week at lunch and interview him and add a little bit of like, mix to it. And Corey's an awesome human being. So, and he's also based here in Miami. So, great guy. So let's, it's the new site's called Bludac, BLUDAC. I'm really impressed. Like they already announced a couple of the pairs they're going to launch, and like those coins soared on Wax, like 150%. So anyway, they haven't even launched the platform. But
can you spell it for me again?
BLUDAC, I believe. Let me make sure I'm doing that right.
.io?
I don't know, dude.
No, I'm coming up with some kind of crystal.
Bludac.io, but you're just going to see a landing page.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that because, this is the holy grail that we talk about with NFTs is that, once you can start yield farming them and you can start staking them and borrowing like the Aave model, or the Geist model, that takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, I'm sitting, I have a bunch of NFTs and, I redid it again and looked at it and it's like 4 times what it was worth in May. But, it's like, I don't want to sell them because I like the Searlight stuff. And now Tokyo Love's blowing up. I don't know if you've been following that story.
Oh, shit, but, really?
Yeah, no.
Oh, because I got the Tokyo Love covered. I got so much Tokyo Love.
Well, he's a lovely guy. but the thing is that he sold one for 4 ETH on I think it was Foundation. Maybe there was some chatter about it. He's in
I hope his Doki Dokis blew up. My offers keep getting higher for my Seer Light ones.
Did you move them over to ETH or did you keep them up?
I moved the 2 most rare ones I have to layer 1.
How much did that cost? Because I haven't.
At the time, it was stupid. It was like, I think it was $120 each, $140 each. I don't think it's as bad now, but
yeah, but those are multiple ETH valued NFTs. So, I'm talking about. See, I've got a bunch of his second layer down that like ones the 70s and things like that, and they're going for like $800 on layer 1 and going for like 600 on Polygon side.
Yeah,
see, and you kind of decide when do you want to arbitrage it over, but you think you got to do the 100 something per NFT and then like a 250 one-time listing fee at OpenSea. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been sticking on Polygon, just waiting for more people to realize, hey, this shit's like, cheaper over here.
Yeah. Well, this is mine that I think it's up to, what was the last offer? Let's see if they've pulled it or not. Hold on.
Yeah, there's always a game.
4,117, which considering I paid $52 for it because Doki Doki's the fair launch NFT platform. I'm not sure why I'm not selling it, but my wife, I consulted with the wife yesterday.
She said sell it.
She said no.
Oh, interesting.
She's like, if Joe Cawley says the demand is high, you need to stay the fuck with that money. Get the money, honey.
Well, some people would also say that's a contraindicator. But yeah, it's always hard to make the call. I mean, I'm kind of looking at the other ones too, and I'm thinking, I mean, do these guys
love Tokyo Love's work. I hope he blows up just for him because I really love this guy. He's such a good guy. He's just a mensch, just a beautiful human being. He and I had a long interview on NFT side of things. But I love this work. It's just fantastic. And he's been, this guy started, selling his work online and then built an Etsy store where he was selling these beautiful prints. He takes these original photos in Tokyo, usually at night. He likes them after it's raining. He met his wife there when he was taking the photos, and lives in Canada, but he's back there like constantly. And he's just a good human being. And he does such beautiful work with these. I'm hoping that we see some of these take off. He had 2 machines on Doki.
Yeah, there's one still running.
Does it still have some in it?
Lo-fi summer, yeah. People were pounding it today, if I'm not mistaken.
Shit.
Because when I saw that one go, it's for ETH. All right, let me get in there. Like maybe like lo-fi summer review, or I don't know. It's there.
Revisited?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Let me look.
I'm popping into
Tokyo Loves Summer Memories is the most recent
That's
one.
it. That's the one.
0.015 ETH.
Yeah. So look, I remember when he was scrambling before, and he lowered the price on this because he was, needed some cash.
Oh yeah, this series was a lot brighter. I remember now.
Yeah, and it's got lots of like cherry blossomy things and stuff like that. And it's what is it?
Yeah.
What is that? It's Retro Journey, is that right? No, Tokyo Love Summer right here. The
Yeah.
Retro's there, the other one.
The Retro was the first one, the night shots.
Yeah. So Tokyo Love Summer, I don't think I did the other one hard, and I don't think I did much on this one.
I didn't either. I did them on the other. I actually like the nighttime ones a little better, but I think there's a whole nother market of people that would like the daytime, the brighter, happier ones.
Yeah. So when you look at it, like the first 2 on that board for listeners, those are 10-10 mints. And so you see that there's, 3 left in the machine, 7 have already gone out, and then 5 and 5 on the second one. And it shows the odds, the probability of getting it, like 0.34 for the first and 0.57. Because as you go down the list, I love that like Temple one right below the second one down on the left column. That's really cool looking. And it's Sunset, of course. But you go down, you see these are 100 mints. And then he goes up to like, I think we're talking to him, a bunch of people were talking to him, not me, but in the group. Yeah, he capped his at 100. Because some of these mints you see on other ones, there's like 3,000 of them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're cute or whatever. They look nice, but you really want those smaller mint ones. So
yeah,
like the Doki Beam one, those are all like 70s. And the Searlight ones that I have are like 70s. So they're not like yours, what is yours? Is that a 10-10 or a 7-7, your Searlight?
No, I think it's a 50.
Okay. So look, there's the 50s going for $4,000.
Yeah, exactly.
When people like the artist, and so maybe it's not selling on OpenSea there at that price, but on Foundation they're going for that price, and that's where a lot of artists get a lot of exposure. So
Joe, I got to cut it close.
Let's cut it. All right, man. One thing, there was something else I wanted to say, but I will save it for what is today? Friday for Monday. Anyways, have a good weekend. I see that. Bitcoin's up to almost 61,500.
Are we going to break all-time high?
I think so, man.
You think over the weekend?
Well, I mean, it depends on, what Asia does when they get up, to me.
Yeah.
And this looks like all new money coming in here. So
yeah,
based upon the ETF thing. Now, of course, if that's delayed for some crazy ass reason, which I don't see, then you might see some freakiness going on from the retail people that FOMO'd in right now.
Yeah.
But I think this is institutional money mostly.
Yep.
Myself.
Have a great day, man. And homies, thanks for listening. Joss, thanks for tweeting us. And we're here every day noonish. Sometimes not on time because Brad's late on another call.
Yeah, he has to get his massage finished first.
That's happy ending.
And on that note, let's go Pumptober.
Yeah.